Over the next couple of videos, I want to share with you how I start a new project. So there's a lot of different files that I include whenever I start a new project, and a few different strategies I have when going from a essentially blank screen to a fully developed app. On my right hand side, I've got some code which I've written and I reuse in a lot of different apps. My extensions are simply code that makes or gives more functionality to the standard data types. So for instance, the date data type is quite difficult to display information in a format that I want to display it in. So for instance, I might want a particular way of displaying the current date and time, or I might want it in a special format so I can compare it to the raw data that is on a server or something like that. So I just take all of these every single time I start a new project, although it might be a bit redundant because some of the code I won't use. I'm just going to grab each of the files, except the zip file here, which is all these files thrown into one so I can share it. And I'm just going to drag the files individually into my project. Now I've had some issues in the past with dragging in the whole folder. Your mileage may vary, but I just find it's more reliable to drag in the files individually and make sure that copy items, if needed, is ticked. That way we get a copy of these extensions placed into our project so I can modify them if I need to. So here are my extensions, and the first thing I'm going to do is put them into a folder. So holding Shift, click on the first one, holding Shift, click on the last one, right click, new group from selection. And I'll call them extensions. I'm going to fold that up and forget about them for a while. The second folder is my SQLite wrapper. I've written this one myself, mainly because I'm looking at writing a database in my app, and I also want to use a wrapper that is a little bit more teacher friendly. So I've got a few different ways of implementing my wrapper so that I can still teach database theory to the students. So I'm just going to grab these files also. Oops, grab them all, but it'd be nice. And drag them in also. Copy items if needed, and finish. And same deal, I'm going to highlight them all. So I click on the first one, hold Shift, click on the last one, right click, new group from selection, and this one I'm going to call database, and fold it up. Now we avoid putting things into preview content or any test files. As you can see, I've got an error here, and that's because I don't have my data manager. So my wrapper is essentially an extension of a data manager, which is a view model. I'm just going to go back into my models here. I'm going to drag in my template data manager. And again, copy items if needed, make sure that's ticked. And I now have my data manager ready with my code to open a database, create a database, my first table, which is a template of what to write as an SQL query for creating a table, and the file name, to which I'm going to rename this one something.